I'm joined by my colleague Lillian Baez, who covers our commercial service office in Memphis on the west side of the state. We, in addition, have a third office here in Tennessee, here in Nashville, that is covered by a colleague, Bree Knox, who is unable to join us today. But this is just to let you know that we do have an extensive footprint across the state, and we have, I'm getting a lot of feedback, a presence in every state across the United States. So I'm going to go through a quick overview of our agency, our services, how you can connect with us, and then I'm going to turn it over to my colleague to speak a little bit about our diversity focus for the year. I'd like to start by thanking the Governor's Office of Diversity for this opportunity to present to all of you. Our agency, the Commercial Service, as Raphael mentioned, is within the U.S. Department of Commerce International Trade Administration. We are a small agency that is focused on supporting small to medium-sized businesses who are looking to export products and services around the world. We have a host of services available to support you in this endeavor, which begin with your local office and your local trade specialist who can counsel you on various aspects of the export process, identifying markets, and connect you with our colleagues overseas. So we do also have a network of offices around the globe with colleagues sitting on the ground who speak the language, who have business contacts in those markets, and help us to connect you with trusted partners and to understand the regulatory and policy environment in those areas. Raphael, can we have the presentation, please? Next slide. Thank you. So as I mentioned, we have a global network, and through this network of domestic and overseas offices, we offer export counseling, market intelligence, business matchmaking services, and then we also engage in commercial diplomacy where you're encountering market barriers and obstacles to your trading relationships. Next slide, please. Our export counseling services involve sitting down with you, the client, either at your place of business or in our office. We make ourselves available to you, whatever's convenient, to discuss what your goals are and what you're looking to accomplish. We then help you to map out a plan in order to get there. We do have recently stood up a specialty facility, our e-commerce innovation lab, that is specifically focused for those of you where you're doing business exclusively via the internet or have a large internet-based presence. We have a variety of services to help you optimize those for international business. Next slide, please. Market intelligence consists of a variety of published reports that are free, online, available on our trade.gov website. There is a market research library that is searchable by market as well as industry sector. And in that database, we have something called our country commercial guides, which are published for every market in which we have a presence on an annual basis that identify the top 10 areas of opportunity for U.S. companies in that market, as well as discuss regulatory policy, economic and political climate in that market. In addition to these overviews that can be very helpful in guiding your search for potential markets, we have customized market research and internet. We have a variety of services where we can offer a profile of a prospective partner that you may have identified and do some basic due diligence on those companies. We can also do an initial market check for you if you feel that you've identified a market but would like more confirmation of that. Our specialists on the ground can do some basic research and let you know what they've discovered by way of potential for your product in that market. Next slide, please. Our business matchmaking services are really what we're most known for. We have a variety of levels of service, but basically the goal is that we vouch for you, the American company, to the foreign partners that we have identified. We pre-introduce your business, your product or service, and your business proposition to them. If they are interested in further information, we then set up a meeting, either virtually or in person, and we sit in on that meeting and monitor, provide a debrief post-meeting about how the meeting went. And ideally, from the series of meetings that we identify for you with pre-screened trusted partners in those markets, you are able to then identify a partner for distribution, sales reps, joint ventures, whatever it is that you're looking for. So as I said, we have a variety of levels of service in this area. Your local trade specialist, when you meet with them, can review them in more detail and discuss what the advantages of each service are. Next slide, please. In addition to our business matchmaking services and market intelligence, we are also very active in the trade event space. We host events both domestically here in the US. We work with trade show organizers at key industry shows in the US to deliver foreign buyers and opportunities to meet with foreign buyers right here at the US domestic shows. We also host inbound trade missions, and we take trade missions abroad. So all of these are opportunities for you to once again meet potential partners in the markets that you have identified for your business. Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, we do engage in commercial diplomacy on the ground overseas. Our colleagues have contacts within the government at the highest levels. So if you encounter issues navigating customs, getting your products to market, or are encountering trade barriers that are being differentially applied to US businesses, we can engage and attempt to alleviate or eliminate those trade barriers. Next slide, please. Just very quickly, why, you might wonder, why does the federal government engage at this level, helping small to medium-sized businesses with exporting? It's because exports really do matter in terms of our balance of trade and the revenue coming into the country. And something for you, the business, to be aware of is that 70% of the world's purchasing power lies outside of the United States. And your competitors are increasing their global market share on an ongoing basis. So if you're not engaging in the international business space, you are missing a significant chunk of the pie. And we are here to help guide you through that process. Next slide, please. This is just an example of where we stand amongst some of our major trading partners across the globe in terms of the percentage of GDP that is generated through exports in the US. Only 12% of our GDP is currently accounted for by export trade. And you'll see our neighbors to the north, Canada, they have over 32% of their GDP is produced through exporting. And then Germany, 47%. So there's a significant room for growth here. And again, we're here to help you do that. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned at the outset, our mission is to help US exports, help grow US exports, which therefore will increase US jobs. So the goal is we bring foreign currency into the market to grow the economy. As the economy grows, we can employ more people. And essentially, those people are employed because of the foreign inputs. So we're not tapping our domestic resources to increase employment. Why work with the US government? For one, we do have worldwide recognition. So, in most countries across the globe, we find that there is a strong affinity and preference for US goods and services. We're known for quality products and free trade. And so companies tend to look first to the United States when they are looking for products and services for their supply chain. Our global network is really unmatched. So our colleagues across the globe are sitting in the embassies and consulates and have the backing of the US government behind them. So they can often open doors that many private consultants and just average individuals are unable to do. We are results driven, so we're measured based on the success that we help you to achieve. We don't take commissions. Some of our services are fee-based, but there is no commission to be paid based on the deal size that you make. Our main goal is to help you succeed in exporting. Next slide, please. Just to give you an example of some of the results that small businesses who export can see. So, exporting can be profitable regardless of the size of your business. We work, again, mostly with small to medium-sized companies because those are the companies that tend to have the least resources available to help build an export base. And a lot of our businesses are sole proprietorships or under 20 employees. So it doesn't matter necessarily the size of your business. You can export. Next slide, please. On average, our companies see a $2.2 million annual revenue increase that's over the last 3 years in general, what our clients have seen. Obviously, results vary from company to company based on your size and the product type or service, but you can see significant annual revenue gains through exporting. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. These are just a few testimonials from some of our clients across the country. We are often told we're the best kept secret in the US government because we don't advertise. The way we get the word out about who we are and what we do is through activities and events such as this. So again, we very much appreciate this invitation from the governor's office. But we, as one client said, we're a hidden gem within the US government. So we truly are here to help, and we welcome your call, your email. Just simply reach out to us and we will find a way to connect. Next slide, please. To give you an example, I know not all of you on the call are from Tennessee, but here in Tennessee, this is the kind of impact that exporting can have. It generates over 131,000 jobs just here in the state of Tennessee. We have 7,356 companies that are exporting here in the state. 82% of our exporters are small to medium-sized companies. So again, your size does not dictate whether or not you can be a successful exporter. And we have $31.1 billion goods exports from the state of Tennessee. That just gives you an example. Regardless of the state you're from, there are numbers like this that demonstrate the true impact that exporting can have both on the state level economy and on your company as an individual company. Next slide, please. So these are our local offices that I mentioned here in Tennessee. One in Nashville that covers Central Tennessee, Memphis covers West Tennessee, and myself covering East Tennessee out of our Knoxville office. We welcome you to reach out. If you're not based here in Tennessee, you're still welcome to reach out to us and we will connect you with your local trade specialist in your state. With that, I'd like to turn the presentation over to my colleague Lillian, who is going to speak to you a little bit about our global diversity initiative that we are engaged in. And this year, there's a big push by our administration, and we're really trying to get this message out. So Lillian, with that, let me turn it over.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Raphael. Yes, I just want to briefly mention an initiative. It's called our Global Diversity Export Initiative. So we are aware of all the challenges that small and medium enterprises and underserved communities face, like lack of financing, just lack of tapping into resources to help them export. So we're working very closely with different partners to try to reach out and make our services available to all these underserved communities. Next slide. So the Global Diversity Export Initiative allows us to execute and create solutions for underserved U.S. businesses by leveraging network of U.S. and overseas offices and the export assistance value chain of the International Trade Administration. So a lot of what Jennifer discussed, is available to underserved businesses and underserved communities. Our mission is to empower and equip diverse U.S. businesses to compete and win global markets. So we work with you closely. All the solutions are customized. Some might need help matchmaking, others might need trade financing, but we will be with you throughout the whole export journey. Who do we serve? Minority, women, veteran, LGBTQ, and disabled. Next slide. We have our Global Diversity Export Initiative website there at trade.gov, a Global Diversity Export Initiative. In there, we have all our upcoming events and resources. And more importantly, we have a contact form that you can fill out, and it will route you to your local specialist so you can start working and engaging with us. One of the events, next slide, please, that is coming up in August, we have a trade mission to Africa that will go to South Africa, Nigeria, and Ghana, and is focused on 4 sectors primarily: automotive, ICT, consumer goods, and safety and security. So this is a trade mission led by us, and it is focused on to promote the Global Diversity Export Initiative. And you can reach out to us if you're interested in participating or want more information. Next slide. So there's my contact information, and also a way to also reach out and get more information on this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we do have some questions, and we still have time to discuss questions. Again, thank you, Ms. Jennifer Woods and Ms. Lillian Baez for that great information. Kim, do we have any questions in the chat?
The only question I see here is that they were asking if there is a way to get copies of the slides.
Yes, so the information of today's meeting is available in our website. So if you go to the tn.diversity software, under our procurement opportunities, we do have a tab there for events. So the information will be available under our events tab on Go-DBE's website. So you will see the recording of the meeting and also the PowerPoint that we have discussed today.
Raphael, I had a question.
Yes.
This is Richard. I was wondering about, if there's only 12%, you mentioned on that graph, exporting from the U.S., I was just wondering I understand some of the roadblocks, from your presentation, but I just wonder, maybe it's the mindset of people in the U.S. Is that why we don't think about exporting? Or, because there's such a difference between the U.S. and some of the other countries. I was just wondering what, maybe there's roadblocks, or they think it's too difficult, or.
I do think that particularly smaller companies tend to think that they don't have the resources and the information and tools to do it correctly. And that's why we're here to provide the level of support that we do to try to help people leverage and bootstrap themselves into those opportunities. I do think as well, because we're the United States, the United States is so vast that many people are focused on the US market and exporting to other states outside of their own area. They don't necessarily think globally and exporting to other markets. Whereas if you're in Europe, your footprint in any given state is so small, you almost have to market in order to have any significant market share and to be able to make a thriving business. Businesses can certainly survive and thrive, doing business exclusively domestically in the US. But we're just here to spread the message that exporting can really add significant value to your bottom line and to your revenue. It also helps to diversify your revenue stream so that when there are ups and downs in a given market, you've got the balance coming from your export markets to help, offset those potential losses. But thank you for that question. I think you're right. I think it's not so much roadblocks as that people are just intimidated. It's not difficult once you understand the process. There are no licenses required here. There are no real hoops to jump through. There is some paperwork involved in exporting, but there are people that are here to help and support, and you can outsource a good deal of that work.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
We do have a Obi raise his hand. Obi, do you have a question for our guest speakers today?
Yes, my question was in regards to, the trades from a global standpoint, is a majority of it products? Like, what is the percentage of everything?
Well, the United States, we're a services exporter primarily. So over time, we have transformed from manufacturing-based to a services-based economy, and that is represented in our exports. That does not mean that there isn't a significant product export base still ongoing manufactured products. We do have all of our export statistics are available online through a Census Bureau, which is a partner agency of ours within the Department of Commerce. We, in addition, through our offices, have access to a number of trade databases where we can pull numbers and statistics about specific product codes and classes and the trade between various destinations.
Okay, and I think there was a malfunction. Your partner who presented last, I wasn't able to see their contact information because I'm Nigerian, so I just wanted to partake in that. So I wasn't able to see that last slide with your contact information to reach out to you. I don't know.
How far?
I just posted both our contact information in the chat, but
Okay.
I can also make it available through Raphael.
I see it. Thank you.
Okay, we do have several questions now in the chat. So Lindsay Wan LLC is asking, do you have an import partner that assists?
That is a question we always get, and unfortunately, we do not help with importing. So I would recommend, you reach out to, the state or your local chamber of commerce. They might help you. But we are focused primarily on export promotion, and we do a little bit of work on foreign direct investment.
Thank you. Our next question is from Audrey Boner. She is asking, what type of qualifications are needed for exporting through your agency?
We really look for companies to be what we call export ready, and that simply means that you understand the various elements that you need to have in place to be successful, such as understanding what your landed price is going to be and how to calculate that. Whatever distributor or partnership agreement you want to enter into, have that document fully vetted and ready to go. Understanding regulatory and policy obstacles that may exist. Have an actual plan in place, identifying the markets that you're targeting. We work very closely with our partners in the states, the Small Business Development Centers, or SBDCs. And here in Tennessee, we do have a TSBDC. If you're not quite to that export ready stage, we recommend that you get in touch with them, and they will walk you through creating that international business plan. And as soon as they feel that you are export ready, they will hand you back off to our office. But other than that, you simply have to have an operational business with a product or service that you're interested in selling abroad.
Great. Our next question is from Veronique Johnson. She says, I saw some prices on the GDI. They are fees for small businesses to pay?
No, I'm sorry. Like trade counseling, there's no fees for that kind of assistance. The fees that were reflected there are just to participate in the upcoming trade mission. to South Africa, Ghana, and Nigeria in August. So those are fees for the trade mission, but there are no fees for trade counseling or other assistance, except for our customized services.
Yeah, our matchmaking services do have a cost recovery fee. We are mandated by Congress to recover the costs of providing those services. They are very modest, and the pricing is based on whether or not your business is small, medium, or large. And we use the SBA definition of small, meaning under 500 employees. So small, most of you, I suspect, on this call would qualify as small. Because 500 employees, in my estimation, isn't really that small. So our pricing is based on the size of your company for those services that are fee-based. But you can come in and talk to us. You can send us an email, give us a call. We don't charge for any of that.
Great. Our next question is from Ryan. He's asking, what examples of products are currently exported?
Well, in my case, in West Tennessee, I work primarily with manufacturers. I've been working a lot with companies in the health sector, medical device, and many also in the service sector. So it is a wide range, but I would have to say that manufacturing, health sector are primarily my clients.
In East Tennessee, Tennessee tends to be largely manufacturing based. I do work with higher education, which is a services export. So when students come to study in the US, they are paying tuition, books, fees, etc. in foreign dollars. So that does register on our balance of trade as a net export. And so just an example of a services export. I would say it runs the gamut. I mean, everything from consumer products, hair care, cosmetics, to electric vehicles and electrical vehicle inputs like batteries, charging stations, medical devices. We have companies here in Tennessee that produce currency and coin blanks that are exported to central banks and used to produce their national currency. Beer, wine, and liquor. I mean, again, it runs the gamut. Just about anything. We are here to assist any company, regardless of what you're producing, to export across the globe.
Thank you. This is an unrelated question that we have in the chat, but it's Susan's asking if there's if there's a resource to help optimize SBA WOSB profile. I'm not sure is what you're meaning by that, Susan, but feel free to contact your liaison in the Governor's Office of Diversity. Maybe we can direct you to the right contact, but definitely contact us. Next question we have is from Jamneth Wesley. Should the company that is exporting must be owner of the product to export, or do they just have to be a representative?
That's a great question. Ideally, you would be the producer. If you are not the producer of the good or service, in order to work with us, you must have a signed letter from the original manufacturer authorizing you to be their representative abroad, either in a specific country, region, or just in general. So we can work with you if you are simply a distributor, as long as you have those authorizations from the original manufacturer to represent them.
Great. And then Amber Whitaker has a question, just to reinstate. Did you say TSBDC for help to get ready? And I believe so.
Yes. And you can also reach out to us and we can put you in contact with your local SBDC, because they have offices in Memphis, Nashville, and in Knoxville. And we work very closely with them.
Yes, as well, Go-DBE as well works closely with the SBDC, so you have both contacts as well. Steven Snipes has a three-part question. First one, what products and/or services have the highest demand or growth in Africa?
That's a challenging question because there are over 60 countries in Africa and they all are very different. So I would say it's really market dependent. In West Africa, I recently served in Nigeria, and prior to COVID, there was a high demand for what we call fast-moving consumer goods. That is disposable products that or consumable products that you use frequently and on an ongoing basis. Um, Food products. There are also lots of restrictions. So it really, you have to understand the specific country or market you're looking at. Africa as a continent cannot necessarily be summarized easily and in making generalizations.
Yes. Um, the second question, what does Tennessee export the most of?
Well, like we mentioned, they export a lot of manufactured goods, chemicals, um, ICT, medical devices, but it's mainly, manufactured goods.
And the next question, what needs to be exported and is underrepresented in Tennessee?
I think, as we said, you can export anything. And so you look at your product or service that you're looking to export. You then start researching markets and looking for data indicators and other indicators that show there's a demand for that product or service in the overseas market. You have to evaluate whether or not you can meet the price points and be competitive.
Mhm.
And then we can do something like the initial market check to get some better sense of what the prospects there are before you proceed to that business matchmaking stage. But really anything can be exported. And I don't know that we could say, what is underrepresented per se in terms of what Tennessee produces and exports. Again, it's anything that you produce or provide that you wish to export, we can assist you with.
Excellent. And any more questions? We still have time for our guests to answer your questions regarding exporting. So feel free to ask still if you have any questions. Okay, we have a question from Veronique. How do you find the international customers?
Well, like Jennifer mentioned in her presentation, we have a network. We have commercial specialists in most countries overseas in our embassies and consulates. So we tap into that local knowledge that they have of the industries or local countries. So that is how we help with the matchmaking services. We do initially, start with the trade counseling and the market research, and we have some tools to help identify the best market. But then we, coordinate very closely with the commercial specialists in those markets to make sure there is a demand for the product and anything that we need to do to get the product there.
Great, thank you. Any other questions from any businesses this morning? Okay, we do have another question. How would the music business leverage exporting? That's interesting.
Interesting.
It is. We actually, when I was during my time in Nigeria, we were starting to see a lot of collaborations between some of the bigger Hollywood studios, such as Warner and Universal, establishing partnerships and a presence in Nigeria because of the huge music base there. There's a large, obviously, Nollywood is, I think, third in the world next to Hollywood and Bollywood. So a huge producer of films and television, lots of musicians, and partnerships tend to be the best way, I feel, in terms of expanding in businesses like that, where you're connecting with a local partner on the ground that's already established and has contacts and connections into that market, into the talent that you're looking to work with, and take it from there. But I think a music business is an excellent example of a service export that has been very successful.
Yes, and in my case in Memphis, I work with a couple of vinyl producing records. Yes, and
Yeah.
that are exporting overseas. So there is a demand for that also. And they're being produced here in West Tennessee.
Okay. We do have another question from Jamneth. The products need specific license to be exported, or I believe she's saying, do these products need licenses like natural vitamins and supplements?
Typically, you don't need a license from the US government, but very frequently in that space where you're talking about vitamins, anything that's ingested, most foreign countries do have some kind of a regulatory process for testing and certification that you would have to meet in order to get your product into the country, because of course they're worried about the safety of their population. And so in that case, again, it's always good to have a partner in that market that you're working with that understands the regulatory process, and in many cases can even help with the certifications and licenses that you would need in order to enter the market.
Yes.
And Corel has a question. Have you seen any real estate services being exported?
We worked with a
Oh,
developer in
I can go in
Nigeria that was
tomorrow.
setting up
When did I have with
cities,
her? On Monday, Monday morning.
like
Monday morning, I
many.
remember. Thank you. I'm sorry. Okay, bye.
Yeah, we worked with developer in Nigeria that was setting up cities where they procured the land and prepared it, and then they sold off spaces, and they were creating multi-use where there was manufacturing, residential, retail, educational, so like little tiny cities within the city. That kind of thing I have seen going on, particularly in West Africa. In terms of, I mean, I think, commercial real estate perhaps, but real estate and licensing in that space, again, can be another tricky one because your license here in the US does not necessarily apply in a foreign market, and you would have to look at what the requirements are in order to get into that space in a given market.
Yeah. I was also overseas like Jennifer. I was in Central America, and we did help us assist a couple real estate companies enter those markets. Like they're just some of the franchises. They would enter the country as a franchise.
Veronique is asking, do the international customers paid after receiving the products? Pay after receiving products?
That all depends on
Yeah.
your sales agreement. So some companies are not comfortable waiting for the goods to be delivered and to receive payment, so they demand payment up front. That can create challenges for your buyer in some cases. Some companies do a deposit on order and then payment upon receipt of goods. There are also all kinds of financial instruments that you can use to help facilitate your transactions and protect your bottom line to make sure that you are getting paid, such as letters of credit and other things. But it is not recommended that you use credit cards internationally because there are just too many ways that fraud can occur. So that is part of our export counseling, in
Yes.
fact, is the whole financing piece. And there are many, many options available.
Yeah, we go over the different terms of payments and, the benefits and challenges. So
I would say there are also programs available for companies. If you get a large order and you need the raw material inputs in order to produce that order, The SBA has loan programs specifically to support export growth and development, where you can get a loan against the purchase, the PO that you have, in order to procure the goods that you need to produce the products to complete the sale. So there are a lot of creative tools out there, and understanding what works best for your company, your bottom line, your risk profile is all part of that export preparation.
Thank you. So I think we don't have, or we do have one more question. Would financial services be considered an export? That's a question by Ryan.
Absolutely, yes. Anything that you're doing where you're working with an overseas buyer, or I mean, Mexico or Canada, obviously not necessarily overseas, but outside of the country, where you're receiving payment from a foreign buyer for something that you're producing or providing to them, that is considered an export on our balance of trade.
We also, like Jennifer mentioned, she works with, we work with the education sector. We also work with the tourism sector. So we help, the companies to help them attract more tourism to Tennessee in this case. So that's another sector that's very active for us.
Great. Well, I believe we don't have any more questions. Again, this meeting is being recorded, so it will be available in Go-DBE's website. Kimberly Fox, could you provide us the link again for our website? You can access our past In the Know meetings we have recorded, and we do have the presentations available as well in that website for you to access. Again, do not hesitate to contact your assigned diversity business liaison. We can also provide you with the contact information with Ms. Lillian Baez and also with Ms. Jennifer Woods if you would like to contact them to potentially schedule an appointment with them. Again, we want to thank you for being part of today's meeting, our first meeting of the year. We want to, of course, thank the International Trade Administration from the U.S. Department of Commerce, directors Ms. Lillian Baez and Ms. Jennifer Woods. Thank you so much for the great information that you have provided us today to all of the businesses attending. So again, our next meeting will be next month in March. So feel free to look at our social medias. We are in LinkedIn and Facebook. We post our outreach opportunities, our events there. So be on the lookout for the next invitation for our next In the Know meeting, which is going to be at the beginning of March. Again, we want to thank you all for attending and for being a part of our program. So with that, we will conclude today's meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope we hear from some of you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.